Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to day two of Governance Leadership Summit. Governance Leadership Summit is a two-day virtual conference being organized by Elets Technomedia and eGovernance Magazine. This conference is a focused initiative of Elets Technomedia and eGovernance Magazine to bring together some of the top policymakers, administrators, government officials, and industry experts at a common platform to discuss the issues and opportunities which are facing our country in the aftermath of the COVID pandemic. This program is being broadcast on a 3D live virtual platform. The program is broadcast live across social platforms as well. This 3D platform has been developed in-house by Elets Technomedia by the name of Avatar. The conference had started yesterday. Since yesterday, we had eminent speakers from Government of India, state governments, representatives from the Indian industry, who deliberated upon a host of sectors, issues affecting a host of sectors, such as IT, smart cities, urban development, municipal administration, water and sanitation, housing, industries, and of course, the general governance in the COVID times. Taking forward the discussions now we are moving to a very important panel discussion on energy. Energy is one of the most important indices of development of any country. The more we move on the developmental front, the more would be the consumption of energy. In fact, the energy consumption is measured, the development of any country is measured in terms of the energy output and energy input both. So taking in this context, I am very happy to present here this panel discussion on smart energy, technological innovations in the smart energy sector, smart energy achieving scale through technological innovation. We are joined by eminent speakers here. Please join me in welcoming Madam Radhika Jha. Radhika is a 2002 batch IAS officer who is currently serving as Secretary Energy in the state of Uttarakhand. Then we have Dr. Murhari Kele. He is Chairman and Managing Director of Tripura State Electricity Corporation. Then we are joined by Mr. Yogesh Kumar, Nodal Officer, Smart Meters, Uttar Pradesh Power Corporation. We will be joined by Engineer H. Harnath Rao in due course of time. This I have been informed. So I will request, first of all, Madam Radhika Jha to give us the opening remarks on smart energy achieving scale through technological innovations.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So many greetings to Mr. Mishra and to my co-panelists. And I would like to thank ELETS and the eGov magazine for organizing this conference, where all the stakeholders actually come together to deliberate and understand the perspective respectively, because each stakeholder has a different perspective. While I was going through this, the title of the discussion today, which says very rightly, smart energy, achieving scale through innovation. At the outset, I would like to say, smart is a very comprehensive word. It's a comprehensive in a lot of ways. Smart just does not mean technology all the time. Smart also means sustainable technology. So when I were to think of the word smart in detail vis-a-vis this panel discussion, I would like the speakers and the audience to think of smart in a different manner. The S of smart is, of course, for sustainable energy, which is renewable and sustainable in terms of tariff, etc. So the smart word would be for sustainable in S. M, of course, in my understanding, is more focused on metering. This is where technology interventions are focused right now across the country. So smart metering in terms of advanced metering infrastructure. So metering is a must for any kind of achievement in the distribution or transmission domain. A, of course, in my understanding, is accessibility, which we have achieved largely. But now how we would take technology to everyone, how to make technology accessible, that is going to be the A of our smart. R, of course, is reforms overall. Reforms in terms of professional management of the entire sector, generation, transmission, and particularly distribution. So that would be the reform in terms of professionalization of the sector. And finally, T, as we all know, would stand for technology. How, in terms of the entire value chain, we could introduce technology to make it sustainable in the larger goal. So I think we are going to focus and we would take the views of all stakeholders in how we would be doing this. If I were to talk about Uttarakhand, in all the three verticals, we have made big strides. How, in terms of generation, we have introduced technology to ensure that projects are completed on time. We have good ERP systems in place. In transmission, how we are using SCADA systems more efficiently. And distribution, of course, we have data centers, SCADA centers. But the challenge right now is to make it more accessible, to make it 100% across the board. So in terms of introducing technology is one component, but how to make technology sustainable. So how to have the smart energy revolution sustainable is where we need people's participation. And I'm a big supporter of having people on board with us in doing any intervention in the power sector. So with this, I'm sure as we go ahead in the panel discussion, we are going to talk about the initiatives which each of us, we've taken in our own fields to introduce and ensure smart energy revolution in the country.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Radhika Jha. Thank you for that nice opening remarks and putting things in perspective. So now I would like to move to Dr. Murari Kele. Dr. Murari Kele is the Chairman and Managing Director of Tripura State Electricity Corporation. So Dr. Murari's views on this topic, smart energy achieving scale through technological innovations.
Good afternoon to all of you. Actually, thank you for calling me in this governance leadership summit by elites. I would like to show presentation for 10-15 slides, but before that, every DISCOM, they are having perennial problems, and it depends on the only two factors. One is AT&C losses, another is SCS and CRR cap. It should be 0, and the target for the AT&C losses, which is given at various times by the Minister of Power, it should be targeted to the 15% only. So I will give whatever the initiatives taken in the distribution sector in the Tripura State Electricity Corporation. As Tripura is a very small state, as you know, it is the third smallest state in India. But I have joined here 2.5 years ago, and I have made remarkable changes. So I want to show that through my presentation. Just I will share my presentation and I will start. Is it visible?
Not yet.
No, actually I have to share that. No, just a minute. Now it's visible, no?
Yes, sir. Now it is visible.
Okay. As I have briefed about the TSL, it's a power surplus state, and we are trading power to the Mizoram, Manipur, which are the adjacent states to the Tripura, and we are also selling power to the Bangladesh, near about 160 megawatt. We are selling it to them. We are profit-making organization, and we are ensuring 24/7 power supply in spite of various natural calamities, wind, storm, and we are having a 60% forest area. Our lines are passing through that such a huge forest. So there are challenges for maintaining the power supply, even though we are maintaining all those things. And in last 2-3 years, we have executed or implemented so many projects. I will give one by one. It's the commercial performance of the TSCL. We are having losses of 12%, which are including Bangladesh, and 29%. These are the intra-state losses. From last year, we have reduced it 10%. And what is happening? Actually, recently, Government of India Finance Minister has given the 3 lakh crores to the power sector, in which there are 2 objectives for improving operational efficiencies, for the financial sustainability of the DISCOM, and for the providing the conditional financial assistance to the DISCOMs. And
Dr. Murari, sorry to interrupt you. Can you please put on the full screen mode?
Okay, just a minute.
Yes, now it is
Okay.
better.
So already I have told that these are two objectives: to reduce the latency losses within the range of 12 to 15%, and ACS minus error gap should be 0. In that scheme, there are three major components, out of which I will go only in the metering, because 100% metering is expected right from the feeder meter to the consumer's meter. And other components are distribution infrastructure work and project management work. And peculiarity of this scheme is previously it was ordered by the Ministry of Power that such type of projects needs to be prepared. But now actually that freedom has been given to the DISCOMs, and need-based assessment needs to be done by the DISCOM, and whatever the improvements they want to do there in their states, this to be implemented through DPR. It is our plan for the smart metering. We are having 45,000 smart meters which are commissioned in the smart pilot project, which were 14 number of pilot projects were executed by the Ministry of Power's initiative 4-5 years ago. And biggest pilot project was in the Tripura. We have installed 45,000 meters, and technology used for the that meters, which was the only in India, it was the PLC based technology. Recently, I have implemented one RF technology based project in Indore, which was the first scalable project in India. Thereafter, actually, we have purchased 1 lakh meters, 1.84 lakh meters through the ESL tenders, which was published 3-4 years back, and we have taken the advantage of that tender, and near about 2.84 lakhs meters we have purchased, out of which 1.8 lakh meters has been installed, and they are working as a prepaid meter, and we are getting better results in that. And we have recently got the sanction from the ADB that we are taking 2,000 crores loan for the implementation of the various infrastructure projects in the Tripura, and through that we are installing 2 lakh meters in the Tripura. It was the first project which was implemented. I have briefed already, and it was the PLC based technology project. And the advantages of that project are line of sight is not required, which is required in the RF based technology. It's just simple plug and play, no repeater is required, and there is no any disturbance in the communication in the high rise building also. And there is no effect of the underground or interference in the lines. And even though there is a fog or any wind, winter, there is no any effect in the communication, and it is a very secure communication. Such type of infrastructure installation is observed in the Tripura, and these are some modules which are fixed in the meter, as well as in the DCU, as well as in the transferring the data to the HES, head-end system. And these are some results. Whenever we have started that pilot project in 2016-17, our losses, because it was implemented in only one division, the losses were near about 12%, and it has reduced within last 4 or 5 years below 5%. It was a good results. Another one, it is a very successful and cheap, or the, we can say cost-effective project of the prepaid meter. These are the standalone prepaid meters, and we are making vending of that prepaid meter through the STS. It is the first type of technology. Generally, in India, CTS based vending technology is used, but we are using STS based because it is related with the adjustment of the units. And we have purchased that meter in rupees 1,500 only. So that payback period is only 20 to 25 months in Tripura. It is a scalable also. These are benefits of the stakeholders. I will not go in detail because all of us knows the benefits of the stakeholders for the consumers, vendors, organization, as well as for the government also. These are some, we have started that from October 19 and October 20, and we are getting excellent results. You can see here that average cash flow increase is 68% in the urban area and near about 64% in the rural area, which is a remote or the extremely remote area. It's a nice results and very effective as well as the cost-effective solution is there. Recently, 9 months back, we have started a call center, smart customer care call center in Agartala, and it includes we are getting all the complaints from the various part of the Tripura. And as you see that these are the complaints which were receiving previously before the starting of the call center. But there is huge increase in the complaints, and it is a good response to the call center. And these are some categories of the service wire related, theft information, commercial, meter related, or the low power complaints. And its restoration time response time is reduced from the 4 hours to near 1.5 hours, as it is decided by the regulator, and it is within the limit. These are some feeders, and it is analysis. We have done the number of breakdowns, just like Saidi Saifi Kaidi. It is for the city. It is just maintenance. 1912 is the, as you know, it is a national call center number for the power. We have taken the various reforms steps. That one of that is public-private participation through the franchises. We have given the franchise for the 5 divisions, which were loss-making, and their loss was above 40 to 45%. So that franchise was adopted due to low billing efficiency, declining collection, outstanding due, then tripping of the feeders, transformer failure, losses were there, and complete resolution of the consumer satisfaction was not there. That's why we have implemented the franchise there. And these are the various parameters and challenges faced before starting the franchise. And these are results. You can see the results. Input energy, previously even input meters were not working. Input energy is increased by the 30%. Bill energy is increased by the 92%. Amount is increased by the 13% because it is based on the annualized input, which is the income of the utility. Amount collected is increased by the 21%, and number of breakdowns and consumers' complaints are reduced in very large extent. It's a successful model in the Tripura. I already worked in the Torrent Power as well as in the Nagpur also, and I have made a research of the power distribution franchises. So I was very much interested to implement such type of project in the Tripura also. Actually, we are facing a lot of problems because we are not got the tariff hike since 2014-15. Actually, in 2014-15, it was 5.83%, but in 2021 it was decided, but the tariff was reduced, and it is creating the difficulties in the Tripura. Another one is it is a very effective reliability improvement project which will be implemented, and the tendering process is in the progress. It is a ADB project. It is used for the generation as well as the distribution. For generation, we are having gas-based power projects, and that open cycle technology will be converted into the combined cycle technology, and its efficiency will be increased in double. With 63 megawatt, we are having a 63 megawatt generators. It will be increased to the 125 megawatt capacity. These are some packages. We have not gone through the conventional infrastructure development. We are going to the smart or the advancement of the technology while implementing the reliability improvement project. Because first one was a substation renovation package, through which we are renovating on the substation breakers, CTs, PTs, and what you call battery charger, and that package. Apart from that, we are installing auto reclosers, sectionalizers, and fault passage indicators for the restoration, for the reduction of the restoration time. It is the advanced technology insertion in the feeders. Another package 2 and 3. Actually, we are going through the various technologies like cover conductor. We are using cover conductor. It is costly, but even though considering the forest area, we need to implement such type of technology. Cover conductor will be upgraded by replacing the bare conductor, and also urban area will be covered by the underground cable, and also we are laying AB cable instead of the bare conductor for the LT line also. Apart from that, wherever a loss area is there, we are using HVDS system for the where we will implement HVDS system. It is tendering is in progress, and also we are pumping near about 2 lakh meters in the system, and that process is already. Apart from that, for infrastructure development and to have a continuous and uninterrupted power supply, we are implementing near about 1370 crores project for the transmission and distribution substations, through which 132 kV substation, augmentation and transmission line, as well as the 33 by 11 kV substation will be installed, and augmentation of the lines will be also covered through that project. Various small projects also there, but various initiatives are taken. And lastly, some other initiatives, we are just in the process of the tendering for a 400 kV substation. Thereafter, we are implementing ERBTs in the process. We are implementing 3 models: HR, finance, material management. Also, we have replaced some transmission line conductor through HTLS. It is a quite good technology because it will increase the load carrying capacity. So implementation of that project has given the relief to us. Then we are making ring main for the 33 by 11 substation. All feeders will be connected to each other. We are doing pilot project for the online health monitoring system in the DTR, and we are thinking for implement that for the power transformers also. Then vigilance activities we have started. I was just created 3 departments. One is vigilance, second was IT, and third is the HR. They were not in their TSCCL since its commencement. But I have created that department, and various standardization of the practices is also implemented in the Tripura State, and we are getting good results throughout all the things. Thank you very much. I think I should stop here.
Thank you, Dr. Murari, for this insight into the operations of your corporation. Quite happy to know that Tripura State Power Corporation is one of the few Tripura is one of the few power surplus states in the country. Plus also, I think, I'm not sure about Uttarakhand, you are exporting power to Bangladesh, so a bilateral aspect is also there. So I don't know whether Uttarakhand is exporting to Nepal or not. I have Madam Radhika Jha will be able to better comment.
No, Mr. Mishra, to answer that question, we are not doing what Tripura is doing. Of course, it was a fantastic presentation, but we, of course, have to buy power. In spite of having rich hydro resources, we are not able to harness all our resources because of the holy river Gangaji, which flows through our state, and there are a lot of environmental issues. So we actually buy power. We are yet not in a position to export power.
Okay, fine. Thank you, ma'am. So moving on, now I would like to invite Mr. Yogesh Kumar. Mr. Yogesh is Nodal Officer, Smart City, Smart Meters in Uttar Pradesh Power Corporation. So Smart Metering is one of the most ambitious programs of Government of India also. So Mr. Yogesh Kumar, over to you. Can you please unmute yourself, Mr. Yogesh?
Good evening to all panelists, and thanks to Elite for inviting me in this conference. As Madam tells us, there is the 2 major components that are the sustainability and metering. So I agree with both components that we are facing the multiple problems. As far as the metering is the basic component, that is the key parameter. By the metering, all parameters related to customer energy and customer behavior, how the customer uses the energy, is recorded and comes to our system as well, so that we can analyze the customer behavior, customer energy, how the customer is using energy, how the customer is behaving for using energy, day hours, evening hours, night hours. This will help us in future when we are using the go to the unconventional energies like solar energy, wind energy. That time when we are finalizing the tariff, then it will help. So basic component is metering. In metering, there is the multiple issues that we are facing in UP. our system is GPRS based. So basically in GPRS based major component is that the communication signal is failure is basic issue in UP. That's why the multiple at approximately 1% of the meter are failing down due to communication issue in every month. That we have to rectify the problems in every month. So we have to identify the issues, use technologies. So I will prefer to whenever we go to smart meter technology, then it will be better to use the hybrid technology. In some in congestion areas where the consumer is very nearby, at that place we use RF technology, and where the consumers are very far away, then we can use the GPRS technology. If we use hybrid technology, then it will be very useful for meter reading, and also provide the all analysis. Secondly, when the meter reading is available with us, DT meter reading is also available at, then we can compare meter reading with DT and consumers and event that are receiving from the meter at various time as event, temper event occurs in the meter, that will reach to our system. That also help us to help us for self detection. So with the help of smart meter, we can easily optimize the use of losses, optimize the losses in the system. Secondly, when we talk to smart energy, second issue is comes that the our losses is at distribution lines plus distribution transformers. Presently, we are using a distribution transformer with multiple repairs. That also decrease efficiency and losses also. Next, when the data comes to HCS MDM and our CCNB system, then the next challenge that is coming in the issue that in the sustainability of the system is that the interportability of the data from one system to second system. This is the major challenge is coming in the smart system. That when the data is meter manufacturer, multiple meter manufacturer are there, multiple HCS system are there, multiple MDM system are there, and multiple billing system are there. Billing system we are using presently. Whenever we are going to smart metering system or smart energy, then we have to integrate all these system, even SCADA system, metering system, HCS system, smart grid system, multiple systems we have to we have to make communication between all these systems by APIs or multiple systems. So this is the bigger challenge in the smart energy system. So we have to finalize some thing like some standardization for HCS, MDM, meters. Meters already have standardization. HCS, MDM, and billing system. That the any system can be used at any place for any purposes. Presently, by using the smart meter in UP, we are able to give the approximately 98% bill to the consumers within time. This is the main advantage. Whenever we can give the bills to the consumers at time, then the revenue inflow to the corporation is better. Whenever revenue inflow is better, you already know that all the working system and upgradation of the system may be improved for this purpose. Thanks. Again, move on to next.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Yogesh, for giving an insight into the progress of smart metering in the state of UP. Now, coming back to Madam Radhika Jha, ma'am, you started your opening remarks with the terms smart energy, smart technology in the context of sustainability. So, could you please elaborate some of the measures which you have initiated in the state of Uttarakhand for ensuring an efficient and reliable access to energy in your state?
Sure. Thank you once again, Mr. Mishra. Okay, so the 5 keywords which I talked of: sustainability, metering, accessibility, reforms, and technology. So, focusing on the sustainable aspect of smart energy. As I have earlier also said, we mostly think smart means technology driven. I would like to broaden the concept by saying that smart also means sustainable. Smart also means something which is adapted easily by the people. So, no technology which creates a fear amongst people as not being a win win is something which faces resistance always. So, focusing on Uttarakhand, because ours is a green Himalayan state, we have a lot of energy in terms of hydropower, which we could harness. We have a lot of solar energy, and we also have a unique concept of pine needles. And we have started power generation from the pine needles. So, our focus has been on improving our RE mix. Over the last 5 years, to share with everyone, our RE mix has increased by 90%. The renewable energy component has increased by 90%. And our solar has grown by 5,100%. So we have taken a big leap in harnessing green power. And we have done that with the assistance and cooperation of people and community at large. So we say that power doesn't mean that a power distribution company is going to, finalize how people will receive power and how meters would be set. No, we said people will also generate power. So we encourage people to put up solar panels, generate solar on their own in the villages, in the hills, and of course on their rooftop. And we have seen a meteoric jump. Our solar, which is underway, is almost around 203 megawatt, and out of which 35 megawatt has already been established. So our focus has been to promote green energy. We have allocated plants of pine needle that generate power to around 64 entrepreneurs, our local people. And 8 of such plants are already feeding in the grid. So decentralized green generation has been the focus of our state. Of course, in addition to this, we have got small hydro, which we have focused on largely, where we have said that we are going to put our resources in sustainable, environmentally sustainable hydro projects. So we are making big strides, and Vyasi is one such project which will see the light of the day very soon. So this is the S part of it. Now we come to the M part of it, which of course Tripura, I was seeing, has done a commendable job. So the M part of it, our focus is to ensure that our advanced metering infrastructure is actually expanded. So of course, for the industrial consumers, we have the AMI systems in place. Now we are planning to do a smart energy, smart meter pilot in our division of Roorkee, which is one division where there are huge losses, huge AT&C losses. So that bid is finalized, and we will be going through the process very, very shortly. In addition to this, we have also decided that our government institutes, where payment of bills becomes an issue, will go in for prepaid. So that has been a decision at the level of the government. We are now making plans to also bid for that, so that in phased manner, because something cannot be done quickly while we introduce technology. So that's something which we are focusing on. In addition to the technology component of it, our focus is also to take administrative measures, because every technology has a cost to it and also faces resistance to begin with. So we are trying to make technology acceptable to people, and likewise also doing administrative measures when we monitor SEDI, SEFI and revenue realization on a daily basis and see which division is performing better. So we have an outcome dashboard where we actually rate our divisions, where interruptions were the least. So those would be the three top divisions where interruption Safi Saidi was the worst. So there is a healthy competition amongst the divisions. For revenue realization also we have targets set, and the new thing which we have done is put these targets as a part of the annual appraisal of all the officers, starting from my own appraisal to the appraisal of the junior engineer. So targets are set which are in line with the overall revenue realization, AT&C or Safi Sadi targets. So our Safi Sadi has improved by around 20% in terms, on an average, availability of power to the consumers. And our revenue realization has also increased. Of course, with COVID, we saw a little dip because realization had to be stopped for a while because of the loss of commercial and industrial activities. So we've done that. So in all, we are now at around 15% of AT&C losses. Of course, we target to reach 14%. If COVID doesn't restrict the entire flow of commerce and industry, we would reach there shortly. So S and M, and about the other reforms, maybe we'll talk about it later.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for elaborating the SSM components of a five-letter formula. I don't know whether I heard correctly or not. You were mentioning the solar power having increased by 51% or 5,100%?
5,100.
Oh, that is phenomenal. That's
Okay,
phenomenal.
just to share with you before I get the numbers right, I think we were at at 8 or something, and I think in million units, and now we are at 37. So that's an increase of 5,100%.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And you also spoke about a very unique initiative, which is in fact the need of the hour also, the participatory governance. You have tried to involve the communities as far as generation of the power is concerned or distribution of the power is concerned. That is also a unique model, which I think should be a takeaway from this panel discussion. So moving on, I'll come back to you, ma'am. I have got a couple of one or two more questions for you, provided time permits us. Dr. Murhari Kele, operations in the DISCOMs must be quite challenging in the COVID times, slightly moving from the technology aspect of the panel. So how did you ensure a seamless operations of your corporation during the COVID times? Because energy, for the past 15 months, when all of us have virtually gone online, this panel discussion is also being held online. This conference, whole day conference is virtual. Classes are being held virtual, meetings, office meetings are virtual. So all this virtualization is being fed by energy. So how did you ensure that there was uninterrupted operations in your Tripura Power Corporation? I'm talking from the point of view of safety of the employees or any specific initiatives you took, or how did you ensure their motivation and morale?
It was a quite difficult time for every distribution company because we have to go on the field only to restore the power. So it was a really challenging job for us also. And we have arranged camps for the vaccination in the corporate office as well as the field offices. It was regarding safety of the people. And apart from that, regarding consumers, there was a reverse impact on the collection of the dues. At that time, in 2020, actually, we are not able to bill for 5 to 6 months, and we have done it on the average basis, and collection was also very less. So we are really in the crunch of the financial issues, and you have managed through. Actually, we are selling it to the Bangladesh also. 160 megawatt we are selling, so it is with the good rate. So we could manage all the show during that last COVID situation.
Thank you, Dr. Murhari. Mr. Yogesh Kumar, you are taking charge of the smart metering in the state of UP. So, of course, some impediments you mentioned. According to me, one of the major impediments is the cost of the metering system. If the economies of scale take place, and if we're able to bring down the cost of meters, I think the adoption of the meters will have more acceptance among the masses. Your views, please.
As for meter concern, acceptability of smart meter, sometimes difficult in the field. Every person who is used to old meters, that meter is sluggish in multiple manners, or old meters that is recording due to aging effect, less recording due to aging effect. And when we replace the new meter, or even a new meter in the mass scale, then a mass set of consumers having new meters that are giving the accurate reading with latest technologies that affect the person that the meter is running fast, or multiple type issue they are telling. This is the major challenge is coming in installing smart meter. As for the cost of the smart meter, cost of smart meter is 2,700 in our smart metering project, and we are giving the 85 rupees 95 paisa per meter per month to EHL in OPEX model. With the help of this, as the CMD sir said ki, in COVID period they are not giving the bill for 5 months, 6 months. In the smart metering areas, we are regularly giving the bill to every consumer through SMS, through mails, with accurate bill. Yeah. So this is the benefit of the smart meter in the every condition. As the consumer getting the bill at the accurate bill with the timely time, then consumer moves to timely payment also. So our turnover is also increased even in COVID period also, and payment and every person presently are using the online payment. So we are getting payment also regularly. So in COVID period in smart meter area there was the no challenge about the revenue, billing and collection. In other area there was challenges. So basically in future we have to go to smart metering in 100% in every area. That will help to our increase the revenue, as well as the efficiently use of the power that we are purchasing from the multiple sources, that will be utilized effectively. Even the every unit of the power is measured where the unit is going, even to DT losses or line losses or consumer theft. That then we will get the efficient energy and smart energy. The aim, our aim is this.
Actually, here is a dilemma. The dilemma is that while you talk of the smart meters being given accurate metering and accurate billing, somewhere the legacy is that in India, in the power sector, the consumers, a vast majority of them, they are used to no cost electricity, and they just do not want to get reformed or move ahead with the times. So behavioral issue also will have to be.
Exactly, I agree.
think so.
I agree with you.
Behavioral issue needs a lot of behavioral issue. We have to be sensitized about. This is my personal decision.
But the behavior of people are changing. Where we have installed the smart meter, the behavior of people are changing, and if you look at Kanpur, Casco, there is turn up per month is approximately 93, 94, 95% turn up every month.
Mm-hmm.
That is very good turn up. So consumer is also changing their behavior.
Quite encouraging.
He think that there is no other option. Then
Yes,
he has to change their behavior.
Quite encouraging. And in fact, Madam Radhika Jha also mentioned the same point, that she has started a pilot in Roorkee about prepaid metering. So I think that once this pilot is rolled out in the entire state, then to a large extent, the issue of revenue leakages may get wiped off. One question for you, Ma'am Radhika. Uttarakhand is blessed with a lot of natural resources, as you also mentioned in your talk previously. As per me, it has got around hydropower potential of around 20,000 megawatts, out of which 3,500 megawatts it has been able to harness so far. And there's a very strange paradox. Also, you did mention about that paradox between development and conservation. If we go for development, then conservation takes a hit, and if we go for conservation, development takes a hit. So quite a tightrope walk you might have been able to take. So what is your take on this developmental paradox of Uttarakhand? And do we have any plans in as far as future hydropower projects are concerned? The recent Tapovan incident has again come as an alarming call for all of us. So in the light of this, in the light of Kedarnath tragedy, so what is the government policy as far as hydropower harnessing of Uttarakhand is concerned?
Yes, absolutely. I think you have just pointed at the right question. What I would like to emphasize over here is that Uttarakhand has a potential so-called of 25,000 megawatt. When I reviewed it, we said that 18,000 megawatt is something which is environmentally sustainable. Uttarakhand as a state also doesn't want to do projects which can harm the environment in any manner whatsoever. So we then did our own survey with the help of technical agencies to understand that 18,000 megawatt is something which is environmentally sustainable, no harm to the environment or to the rivers at all. Out of this, we have only managed to harness 4,000 megawatt, Mr. Mishra, okay? Now this is minuscule. Himachal, on the contrary, has the same potential, and they have managed to harness a huge percentage of it. They are exporting power worth 1,000 crores. And we are buying power worth 1,000 crores. Now that's a paradox in numbers, that we have to buy power, whereas we have a lot of endowment. And of course, environmental issues, the NGOs, their concerns, there is litigation, and there is, of course, now the entire Ganga Basin river. So people say that there should be no activity in terms of that river. So Himachal doesn't have a holy river through it, and we are the Devbhumi and have a holy river through us. So we have to be extra cautious, which the state government is, but still there is so much of litigation, and there is so much of miscommunication built on hydro projects. I would just like to clarify on 2 points. The Kedarnath tragedy, which all of us know, the 2013 tragedy, which was catastrophic. There were at least 4 national level studies done by independent groups and acclaimed, organizations, which said that that tragedy had nothing to do with the hydro project. The place where that entire burst happened, there was no hydro project in the vicinity. It was a glacial outburst, which is nature's way of how they do it. It's like, it's a disaster which cannot be explained for. For a long time, all the NGOs went to the court saying that it was because of some hydro project, or some even talked about road cutting, etc. Whereas it was stated professionally, technically, that there was no such issue of a hydro project. Now, after 7-8 years, we have another Tapovan disaster which happened. And I myself went with the Honorable Power Minister and with the entire technical team to see, and we also got that assessed. That was also a glacial lake burst, which cannot be accounted for by any reason of hydro or roads or cutting, etc. Whereas it is fine that we have to be very careful while we are working up in the hills. We have to be extremely careful how we do road cutting, but that was not the reason. But what happens is, any such tragedy happens, and the environmentalists who are sitting in Delhi, they are not really over here in the state also, would talk in great and fancy English to say how it happened because of a hydro project, which has not been, I would like to draw a parallel to a cyclone. People living on the coastal areas, they face cyclones. Now, they are not attributable to anything which the people do in the coasts. So people living in the Himalayan belt face these glacial outbursts, which is not attributable to the projects. So that is one clarity which we have. We have left as a strategy all projects which have been said not to be, environmentally sustainable. We are only focusing on projects which are neat and clean in terms of environmental conservation and river flows. Uttarakhand is the only state which has ensured the minimum flow in the rivers. And Uttarakhand is the only state which is actually leaving 100 crores of electricity every year to maintain water in the rivers. So we are doing that. Now our focus, in short, to brief you, is that we will focus on environmentally sustainable projects, more on small hydro, because they are easy to build, they have less damage to the environment, And our focus is with hydro to also harness solar in a big way. So that's the big takeaway which we have in our RE strategy.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. We hope that under your able policy making, we will be continuing to safeguard the national interests of the state of Uttarakhand.
Thank
So
you.
we are now over with the time. Before we conclude the panel discussion, a quick closing remark from Mr. Dr. Murhari Kele, Chairman and Managing Director of Uttarakhand State Power Corporation. Concluding remarks, Dr. Murhari, as far as energy is concerned or role of technology in energy is concerned. Please unmute yourself. Kindly unmute yourself.
Basically, various innovations are going in the distribution sector, and smart energy, as Madam said, she has explained in a very good manner. Smart, everything is smart is required nowadays in the digital India, and for that, various models just like OPEX, TOTEX, whatever model which is feasible for the any utility, it should be implemented for the metering, because in new guidelines, actually every new connection will be released only through the smart or the prepaid meter. It is made compulsory. So for implementation of such type of programs, we need to think that specific consumption of the any consumer, it is the major factor for decision of the smart meter or the prepaid meter. Because if it is a very remote area and that specific consumption is less, then we need not pump smart meters there. We have to think smart meters for the urban area or the where specific consumption is quite sizable. So I think it is the one point. Another point is for public-private partnership. For loss-making area, we need to have a look into franchises model or the delicensing of the distribution, which was proposed in the new act, but it is not just enacted. But these 2 points are majorly required for the any performance to increase the performance of the unit discom. Thank you.
Dr. Murhari, you had mentioned the public-private opportunities in the power sector. In fact, I also wanted to touch upon this point, but I'm just short of time now. So perhaps in some other forum, we'll have to discuss about the PPP opportunities in the power sector in India. So Mr. Yogesh Kumar, your concluding remarks, please. आवाज नहीं आ रही योगेश जी.
Okay. As for concern, we have to ultimately move to accounting for each unit of energy, for which we have to we have no other option with us with power utility. Yet we have to go to smart metering, plus our infra upgradation, plus IT implementation at every stage, either ERP or either billing system. This is the must be done in the power sector. Then we power sector of the.
Well said, sir. Well said.
India,
accounting for each and every unit of power consumed. Well said. Moving on from an era where there was an AT&C losses of around approximately 55-60% to 15% these days, we have made a considerable progress, and still there is a lot of potential. A day should come when it should be below 5%. Concluding remarks from you, Madam Radhika Jha.
Okay, I think when we started from the smart concept of it, now I think we also want to take the smart concept to the people. So I slightly disagree with Mr. Yogesh Kumar that technology has to be forced down people. You know, if you were to compare energy to the telephone sector, to the mobile telephony, there is so much technology which is introduced in our mobile systems, and we easily accept it because there is value for money in it. It's a win-win for all of us. We pay our mobile bills on time. We accept any technology will come through it. So I think the energy sector has to take leaps and bounds to compare itself with the mobile revolution which has happened in our country. And I think that's the way forward where technology and people would go together.
Wonderful, wonderful remarks. That it will have to have the acceptance of people also. So very beautiful example of mobile which you gave. So thank you once again, all of you, esteemed panelists, Madam Radhika Jha, Secretary Energy, Government of Uttarakhand, and Dr. Murari Kele, Chairman and Managing Director of Tripura State Electricity Corporation, and Mr. Yogesh Kumar, Nodal Officer, Uttar Pradesh Power Corporation Limited. So before we conclude this session, we have this speaker certificate as a token of appreciation for all of you. This certificate is for Madam Radhika Jha, Secretary, Department of Energy, Government of Uttarakhand, for sharing her valuable insights at ILET's Governance Leadership Summit.
Thank you.
The next certificate is for Dr. Murari Kele, Chairman cum Managing Director, Tripura State Electricity Corporation, Government of Tripura. Thank you, Dr. Murari, for taking out time and joining us here. And finally, we have Mr. Yogesh Kumar with us, Nodal Officer, Smart Meter, Uttar Pradesh Power Corporation, Government of Uttar Pradesh. Thank you, Mr. Yogesh Kumar, for taking out time and joining us. So thank you once again, all of you. This panel discussion concludes here, but the conference will still continue. We have got an interesting panel discussion on the importance of GIS mapping in the 21st century New India. So please, the audience has to hook on. So I request all of you and take your goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.